What's up, everybody? Omega here. Thanks for checking out the video today. I am back with
Lady Omega.
and we are doing part 2 of our epic video walkthrough. We have 3 more classes to go through, so we're going to review those for you guys today. Thanks for checking out our other previous rare and epic part 1 walkthroughs. We got a lot of great feedback from you guys on those, and we do appreciate the support and you guys checking out those videos.
Right. And while we have a second, just like and subscribe right now.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We do appreciate that. We'll have some promo codes coming for you guys soon. So we are going to start with the
Noble Swordmasters.
Noble Swordmasters. Those are these girls right here.
There's an obvious one out of the bunch, and it's Rosalia.
Rosalia is the best of the bunch here. The yellow one, she does a ton of damage. Deals damage to a single enemy, 410% of defense. So she does damage based on defense. And she also ignores 20% of the enemy's damage, the enemy's defense as well. And her passive,
She does 30% chance. Has a 30% chance to deal damage to a single enemy. 328% of caster's defense. Ignores 20% of target's defense. Whenever taking damage from special ability, gains 10% defense for every living enemy, and a mana gain increased by 1.
So she's awesome in a lot of areas. You'll see her in the arena. You'll see her in wars. Just because of the amount of damage she can do. She can snipe a purple hero pretty quickly.
I think my favorite thing about her is when she's hit with a special, she just automatically fires sometimes.
Yeah, so she has the ability to use her to go again and do more damage just by getting hit by a special. So that's a pretty cool thing to have.
And she can snipe. I mean, I've had one to pretty much take out my whole team one by one.
Yeah.
So she's pretty strong, awesome hero.
She can really hurt you in Guild Wars too, but she can also help you if you're using her on offense. And the other one that we like from this bunch is going to be Gisela, the green one. She does have a defense leader skill. Increases the defense of all allies in guild-related battles by 32%.
Her max special would be 100% chance to inflict decreased defense on a single enemy for 4 turns. Deals damage to a single enemy, 365% of defense.
So a pretty good amount of damage there based on defense. And she also has defense down on a single enemy as well.
Her passive is damage is increased by 35% if she is above 50% HP, recovers HP equal to 20% of damage dealt, and mana gain increased by 1.
So those are the 2 that we like the most out of that bunch. The other 3, I guess you could probably play around with them early game, or maybe as an intermediate player, but Rosalia is really going to be the star of that bunch for you to help your roster out. All right, moving on to Mercenary Sisters.
This is a part of the twins.
Yeah, so these are part of the twins, and just a note about the twins is the sisters and brothers, you can really combine them on a team. They could be any color. You can do blue and green and red and yellow. They don't have to be the same color to work together for their soul link.
Passives to work,
Yeah, for their soul link to work. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. When it comes to the sisters, the 2 that really stand out to us are going to be Verona, the purple one.
She has a speed leader skill. And it's a high speed leader skill for an epic hero. It's for 21. It's awesome.
21 speed for all purple allies, so that would really help in guild battles. I mean, you could pair her with a fast Sarkon and really create some problems for an opposing defense.
Yes. Her max special deals damage to all enemies, 150% attack, which isn't a lot. but is AoE hitter, so 50% chance to inflict decreased speed on all enemies for 3 turns, and that really will help you out with your turns.
So basically, all of these soul brothers and sisters are going to be their soul link is going to be what their passive is centered around. Gain soul link for 5 turns at the start of each wave and has a 100% chance to use her special ability twice if there is a living mercenary brother in her team. She has a mana gain as well based on whether there's a mercenary brother on the team as well as an ally. Alright, so the next one that we're going to look at is the red one. That's Azaria. I really like her a lot. Her special deals damage to a single enemy, 223% of attack, 50% chance to inflict stun on a single enemy for 4 turns. So that's a pretty good, decent stun for 4 turns. It does have a little bit lower chance of landing, which would be 50%. But a stun hero that does also attack damage is always going to be helpful. She also has the same passive ability, which would be Bond, which is gain soul link with her mercenary brother, and has a 100% chance to use her special ability again. So out of those are the 2 that we really like. The other 3, like I said,
They're still up in the air.
They're still kind of up in the air. I don't feel like they're that great yet, but they're still newer heroes, and there's still synergies to kind of figure out with those and to see how they work best and what teams they would work best with and what aspects of the game. But we are going to say that Verona and Azaria are the best 2 of those bunch so far. Wouldn't you agree?
I do.
All right, so moving on to the Mercenary Brothers. We like the red one.
Vital.
Right? Mm-hmm. Vital. Increases the attack of red allies by 38% as his leader skill. Deals damage to a single enemy, 225% of attack. 100% chance to inflict bleed on a single enemy for 4 turns. Dots are very important in this game, more so than they ever have been. And obviously he has that unbreakable soul link passive. And a chance to use his special ability twice if there's a mercenary sister on his team.
His attack is increased by 50% if there's a dead mercenary sister on his team. So, beneficial if she lives or dies. And our next one is the yellow one.
Is Davian, the yellow one. His special ability is Ripping Cut, 100% chance to inflict Assassin's Mark on a single enemy for 4 turns. Deals damage to a single enemy, 257% of attack, and detonates his Assassin's Mark immediately. So he could do a lot of damage with his Assassin's Mark.
Yes.
So we think he's a pretty cool hero to use out of that bunch as well.
I like the immediate denoting of the Assassin's Mark.
Yeah, the immediate, setting off the immediate Assassin's Mark is huge. That's going to do a lot of damage really quickly to make your team more successful. Moving on to the Sorceresses.
We have picked 2 main ones out of this bunch, which is Soliana and Chloe.
All right, so let's start with Soliana here. She's a speed leader everywhere for 13.
In all game modes. Her special is 100% chance to inflict burn on all enemies for 3 turns, deals damage to all enemies, 167% of attack.
She's a great farmer.
She is.
And there's certain rift teams that she's used on as well.
One of those is Witch.
Yep, one of those is Witch Rift. Lady O uses her in Witch Rift, and she seems to do pretty well there for you. So she does have some uses in the game other than just a farmer. So there's a couple rifts that she's strong in if you need a rift hero.
She gains 50 mana at the start of each wave. Gains 5 mana whenever her special ability inflicts burn on an enemy. So she goes off pretty frequently.
Yeah, so that's really what makes her a good farmer, is because her mana gain is part of her passive. So on each wave, she's going to gain mana right off the bat, and then she gains 5 mana whenever her special ability inflicts burn. So when in that burn lands, she's going to gain more mana and go again and set her special off again.
Just as with any other dot hero, build them with ACs.
And the other one we like is Chloe. HP leader. HP leader is pretty good. It's in the arena by 38%. You probably won't really use that leader skill a whole lot. But what she's really good at is being a debuffer. Deals damage to all enemies, 17% of casters max HP. 100% chance to inflict curse on all enemies for 4 turns. And 100% chance to remove 1 positive status from all enemies. Her damage based on her HP isn't actually that high, but that's not really what her utility is. Her doing a little bit of damage to me is just kind of an added bonus, but really her curse on all enemies and her removal of 1 positive status from all enemies is really what she's best at.
Agreed.
Overwhelming missiles, can match gemstones 4 times. Gains increased accuracy for 4 turns at the start of her turn. All right, so that would conclude those. Let's move on to
The Dark Followers.
Lady O's favorite class, which would be the Dark Followers, and we are going to start with these Vampire Dames.
It's the way they look. That's what makes them my favorite. So this one will be, as a starter hero, definitely the purple.
Okay.
She's one of the first revivers in game, I think.
She does revive herself. Yeah, once she's killed, she's automatically revives. She's great for, as Lady O said, as a beginner or intermediate player. She'll be useful to you there.
She has a speed leader skill of 13.
She deals damage to a single enemy for 375% of attack. And recovers HP equal to 35% of damage dealt. Once per battle, can resurrect with 85% HP. So she'll resurrect herself with 85% of her HP. So you want to put a lot of HP on her so she doesn't die as soon as she's resurrected.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next one.
Yep.
And it's going to be Lilith.
Which is another debuffer.
Increases the attack of all yellow alloys by 38%.
Now, when I used to use her on the purple raid boss, I would use her attack leader skill.
100% chance to remove 3 positive statuses from an enemy. So once she's fully skilled, she does remove quite a few positive buffs from the enemy. That's what makes her great against the purple raid boss. And she does do damage to a single enemy as well and recovers 25% mana. Her passive is 50% chance to inflict curse on an enemy for 3 turns whenever dealing damage with gemstones, and she's immune to silence.
She's a great hero. I used to use her all the time. Not so much anymore, but I will. I do sometimes.
Yep.
But in the next one,
Drow Necromancers. A good chunk of these are actually pretty good. Myra is probably the best of the bunch. Most of you probably already have a Myra or use her. If you're new to the game, she's a great hero to have. We recommend that you level and build her. Make her fast with a lot of AC.
yes.
She has a crit rate leader skill in a guild-related battle, so she'll boost crit rate by 20% in any guild battles or against the raid boss.
Yep, which includes war and raid boss.
Yep.
Myra, I still use her everywhere.
Yeah, she's a fantastic hero.
Her special is she deals damage to a single enemy, 28% of caster's max HP, 100% chance to inflict decreased defense on a single enemy for 3 turns, which makes her important with the RB, 100% chance to inflict vulnerability on a single enemy for 3 turns, which is another reason why she's important with the RB.
Yep. And one thing to keep in mind with her, since she's a really good raid boss hero, you want to build her with accuracy, but because the raid bosses resistance are so high, her accuracy needs to be a minimum 180%, preferably 200% and higher. She does have a passive, Magic Fuel.
She gains mana breath for 3 turns. First time she takes damage in a turn, her accuracy is increased by 40% and a mana gain increased by 1.
Great hero.
Use her everywhere. I love Myra.
Yep. The next one that we really like is going to be Vepris,
which has recently turned popular in the game.
Yeah, you see a lot of her being leveled. A lot of more and more people are using her, mostly in PvP and wars. She has an accuracy leader skill, increases the accuracy of all allies in guild-related battles by 40%. So that's a pretty good leadership skill for, especially for wars, actually.
Mm-hmm. Her special is 100% chance to inflict Assassin's Mark on all enemies for 5 turns. That's huge. 75% chance to inflict second Assassin's Mark on all enemies for 5 turns. So potential there for 10 Assassin Marks.
Yeah, and she does a ton of damage with that Assassin's Mark and can really hurt an entire team with her Assassin's Mark.
Indeed.
Quite a few people are using her in the arena right now on certain defensive synergies.
Her passive restores 10 mana whenever she inflicts a negative status. Her accuracy is increased by 40% with a mana gain increased by 1.
Indeed.
Yeah. So all these girls possibly have potential, but that's the 2 favorites for sure.
Yeah, all of those are good. The red and the blue are great. All right, moving on to the next one.
Bearded Pirates.
Bearded Pirates.
And of course, the favorited one in all this one is Martin, as he's universally used on RBs and in war and
just
arena.
Everywhere.
Yeah, he's just universally used. And recently, a lot of people have been using him to get through
Inferno.
Yeah, Inferno.
Inferno campaign. He's great there because of his taunt. He is an HP leader everywhere, increases the HP of all allies by 32% in all game modes. Recovers 20% HP, gains Fortify for 4 turns, and gains Taunt for 4 turns.
As a taunt, that Fortify is important.
Very. Defense increased by 30% when HP is below 40%, and he's immune to poison, which is a really good skill to have.
Zarkon doesn't phase him.
Zarkon does not phase him. Fantastic hero, one of the best epics in the game. He's a top one to have. What more can be said about Martin other than he's great? The other one that we like is Morley. He's probably the second best in this class. Really good defensive hero. He's not really used on offense, but he's great for a defensive team. Leader ability increases the defense of all purple allies by 38%. Recovers 19% HP. Grants Soul Link to all allies for 2 turns. Gains Mana Breath for 4 turns. His passive is his defense is increased by 15% for each negative status affecting him. And he's immune to poison. I really like him on war defense. Certain epic war defenses. So Martin and Morley are going to be really your top 2 heroes in that class, or that clan.
So all these pirates are immune to poison. All of them.
The entire clan is immune to poison. So that's what makes them usable in most areas. Martin and Morley are the 2 that we really like out of those.
So the Plague Doctors.
All right, moving on to the Plague Doctors.
Tessix,
an oldie but a goodie. Tessix has been around this class has been around for quite some time. I think Tessix is still a very good usable hero. He has a defensive leader skill in arena. That's not really going to help you out on the current meta too much. There's better leadership skills that you're going to use for arena. Increases the defense of all allies in the arena by 32%. But he restores 13% of targets max HP to all allies, so he has a healing aspect that really works really well for your team. He grants Spell Shield to all allies for 5 turns and grants Reflect to all allies for 3 turns. So he's going to put a type of immunity on your team, and then he's going to reflect the damage that they're doing to your team as well.
His reflects really hurt Takeo in the arena.
Yeah, that's true. Resistance is increased by 55% if below 50% HP. So if he takes some damage and his HP drops, his resistance will go up, which is a really interesting passive to have.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is going to be Etro.
And the only reason why is he makes the hitters harder, like mainly Gorek.
Right. So he pairs really well with Gorek, and I think shout out to T-Bone because he was one of the first people to discover that, I think,
Right.
and do a video about it. But he's an HP leader everywhere. Increases the HP of all allies by 32% in all game modes. And here is his special ability. Sacrifices 30% of the ally with the highest attack's current HP. Grants recovery to an ally for 4 turns. Grants increased attack to an ally for 4 turns. Grants increased critical damage to an ally for 4 turns. So he's really good to pair with your hitter against raid bosses. He's kind of a unique hero to me because raid bosses are really the only aspect of the game that I see him as being really usable in.
Yeah. You put him on your defenses and you can expect that hero to be pretty much worthless.
Yeah. Alright, his passive is Twisted Satisfaction. Restores 60% HP and gains 60 mana whenever an ally is killed. So if a hero actually dies on your team, he'll heal himself and gain 60 mana to cast this special again. Again, the other 3, some people use them in certain areas. Probably Ike's is probably third. Decent hero. Some people use Theo as a debuffer, and he does have heal block, so he could be useful in the Moon Sister Rift, where heal block is very important. But again, Tessix and Etro are going to be the 2 best of those bunch out of the Plague Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the Skull Archers.
Yeah, these are probably my favorite look out of the group. Brianna.
Brianna is a great hero in the beginning of the game.
In the beginning, yes.
For a newer player. Lady O used her a lot.
I did. She was one of my first heroes. She deals damage to a single enemy, 273% attack, 100% chance to inflict Board Jester on a single enemy for 4 turns. And her passive is her attack is increased by 25% for every dead enemy, speed increased by 25. So at some points in the game, I used to think that she would go twice, but it wasn't that. It was her mana gain increase, or her speed, sorry.
So here's what we'll kind of say about the Skull Archers, I guess, is that for beginner or intermediate players, all of them are pretty good. But as you progress through the game, personally, I feel like they're not going to help you as much until they get a buff or a rework on some of them.
I agree. They're beginner heroes for sure. So moving on to the last class, the Far East, which is fairly new.
Yeah, the Far East class, which is fairly new, which has a lot of great heroes in it. We both really like this class. We are going to start with the experienced Falconers. And I'll let Lady O talk a little bit about these, as she has some of them at 6-star that she uses.
Most of them are AoEs, which I really like an AoE. Sometimes you just need that extra edge.
Mm-hmm.
I have 6-star the green one. Tujin. She deals damage to all enemies, 220% of attack. which isn't a whole lot. She has a 38% HP leadership skill for the guild. And her passive is deals 9% more damage for each negative status effect affecting an enemy and deals 25% more damage if the target has less HP than she does. So I use these ladies in war, mainly. I like them, but I don't love them.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I can live without them.
Yeah.
I just needed them for an extra edge on and color advantage in some instances, you know.
Yeah.
So I've 6-starred Alton, and I do like her. She deals damage to all enemies, 165% attack, grants recovery for 2 turns, 100% chance to inflict board jester on all enemies for 4 turns. And her passive is 100% chance to inflict vulnerability on all enemies for 4 turns at 100% if at 100% HP when using her special ability. Her accuracy is increased by 35 and a mana increase by 1.
Okay.
So they're usable.
Yeah. I think you put it really well when you said that you like them but you don't love them.
Right. I could live without them.
Right, yeah. So they're not going to make or break the game for you, but they are some optional heroes to use.
Right.
All right, moving on to the Silent Assassins. There's a few of these. These are relatively new. There's a few of these that we like. I think the one that probably gets used the most is Karahu.
Mm-hmm.
She's a savage against the Blue Raid boss.
She is.
Got an attack leader skill of 32% in guild-related battles, which includes the raid boss, by the way. Deals damage to a single enemy, 430% of attack, and ignores 20% defense. And she has a great passive.
Deals 30% more damage and is immune to decreased speed, decreased attack, and freeze when fighting a single enemy. Deals 30% more damage when her HP is 50% or below. Mana gain increased by 1.
Right, so what's really important there is that she's immune to freeze.
With the raid boss.
And immune to decreased speed. So that's helpful against the blue raid boss because he actually has decreased speed and decreased attack and freeze to everybody, and she's immune to all of those. So that's why she's able to hang in there and do so much damage against that raid boss.
The next one probably used the most is the yellow one.
Gonna be my Seiko.
Mm-hmm.
Deals damage to a single enemy, 420% of attack, which is super high. Ignores 20% defense, which is going to increase that damage even more.
The passive recovers HP equal to 40% damage dealt to an enemy, 100% chance to recast her special ability if she is at 100% HP, and a mana gain increase by 1.
So any hero that kind of heals themselves and then gives themselves a second chance of going at using their special twice is always going to be pretty helpful to you.
And that ignoring the defense too.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes.
All right, and then Kabuki is the blue one is the other one that we really like here. I have a 6-star one that I've been working on that I like a lot. Special ability deals damage to a single enemy, 350% of attack, and 100% chance to inflict heal block on a single enemy for 4 turns. And her passive is she inflicts vulnerability for 4 turns when using her special ability if the target enemy is affected by heal block. So that's pretty cool because if she lands her heal block with her special ability, her passive is going to allow an automatic pretty much vulnerability on the enemy for 4 turns. And her speed is increased by 8 for every living enemy. So she'll get faster as the battle goes on.
Okay. Moving on to Fist of Legends. We like a couple of these girls too.
Right. Fist of Legends, or otherwise known as the Kung Fu Girls. Our favorite one, and the one of my favorite epic heroes is Shaw, the blue one.
Yes. We actually have a featured video of her.
Yeah, we've done a video of her. She was one of our first Hero of the Week heroes. We really like her. Both big fans of hers, and we use her in a lot of areas. Deals damage to all enemies, 240% of attack. So for an AoE hitter, that's pretty high. Anything over 200% for an AoE attacker is fantastic. She has a 100% chance to inflict poison on all enemies for 4 turns. So she does damage to all enemies. She puts dots on all enemies, which is poison for 4 turns, which is great to have, especially in wars against double revive teams and epics. The other area that she's great in is like farming. Phoenix Rift, the Red Rift, and because of her passive is mostly why she gains increased attack for a number of turns equal to the number of poison statuses inflicted, and recovers 20 mana whenever she kills an enemy. So if she kills all the enemies on the first wave, which is generally 4 or 5 heroes, she has a chance to go into the second wave with 80 to 100 mana and wipe that next wave out pretty quickly.
Which ours has done quite a few times.
Yeah, which ours is done on the regular, actually.
Yes.
All right. And the second one that we like out of this one is going to be
Bow.
Bow.
Yeah, she has a speed leader skill of 21, which is high for an epic because they're usually at 17. So anytime you see 21 on an epic, that's a really good speed leader skill for an epic.
Yeah, it really is.
She deals damage to a single enemy, 40% of caster's max HP, and ignores 20% defense down.
So that's going to be a really high damage multiplier there, guys, based on HP. So it means she's going to do a ton of damage, and actually she's going to be a little bit tanky, so she's going to hang in there longer and take more damage and be able to withstand it while dishing out damage at a high ratio to the enemy.
Her passive is 100% chance to inflict stun for 3 turns on an enemy if she critically hits an enemy with her special ability.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, really is cool. Damage increased by 25% if an enemy is affected by stun, and mana gain increased by 1. Her passive has saved me in war multiple times.
Yeah. She's got a lot of potential to really help some players out and their rosters and their team synergies out there. So Bow's a really good hero to have. The other one that Lady O likes is actually, as kind of an honorable mention of the bunch, is May, the red one.
She has a 32% attack leadership skill for the whole guild. Her special is deals damage to a single enemy, 445% attack, and ignores 20% defense down.
So again, just a bunch of high attack damage. So she'll do a bunch of damage there. Her passive is damage is increased by 25% if target has lower attack than she does. Gains increased critical damage for 7 turns whenever she kills an enemy.
I like her. I use her in war.
Yep. So I guess that's going to conclude our Epic Hero walkthrough part 2. If you guys have any questions or comments or heroes that work well for you, feel free to drop those in the comments down below. Again, thank you for checking out the video.
Like and subscribe.
Lady Omega and Omega.
Peace out.
Peace out.